Epic Spotlight, Jess Ford. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. My hands are so cold. My feet are cold, but it's a balmy 11 degrees.
My foots are cold too, and we made it up to 15.
Stop it.
Mhm.
Stop it. Michigan in the building. How are you?
Hey,
What's
I'm
going
good.
on?
Not a whole lot. I'm very excited about today's topic. Can you get my lighting right? I don't
Let's talk
like
a
it.
little bit about the weather before. Well, we got a good topic. I guess I really got you buzzing on today's topic.
Yeah, I don't know what you was thinking.
Oh my God. Is that
We might go over a little bit.
you, I wrote this down as something to just to get this going, but I said most people aren't failing because they're making bad decisions. They're failing because they're not making any decisions at times.
Mm,
Silence is very expensive.
absolutely.
And maybe we could talk about maybe we could talk about why, there's a lot of things going on, from some people making why do smart people make bad decisions?
Why do smart people make bad decisions? Okay, so would you like me to start, or are you going to
I,
answer your own
you
question?
you said, "Hey, I don't even know you're going to talk today." So I was like, "Yo, world squirrel."
Okay. Why do intelligent people make bad decisions? All right. So, you said, what did you say? You said logic isn't broken, it's just outvoted. And I love that, right? I love it. Um, okay. So, as a sales coach of the last 15 years, right? One of the core concepts that I teach in all of my classes is people buy based on emotion, but they justify with logic. And so if you think about it, this applies to pretty much every area in our life: health, relationships, food, whatever. So the irony of high intelligence is that it often gives us more sophisticated tools to justify our bad decisions. So if a person is actually incapable, they might fail due to lack of skill, right? Or make a poor choice based on lack of knowledge. However, a capable person fails usually because our subconscious programming is working overtime. Um, Today's topic is a whole lot about the human brain. So let me put out a disclaimer right now. I am not a doctor of psychology. I am just a fairly intelligent person in a career that revolves around influence and persuasion. Thankfully, unlike a lot of the sales world, I use my powers for good and not evil. Hashtag be a good human. Sometimes it's to my own detriment. But to be effective at what I do, whether it's business to business, business to consumer, or personal, I have to understand how the human mind works. Um, so a lot of people like to memorize sports stats.
Okay, okay, I see where you're
And
going with that.
then there's me, and I like to keep stats about the human brain.
Well, just so you know, I was just on the phone with a client I'm working with right now. We got two transactions going on at the same time, and he said, "Man, in your part time, you must be a counselor. You should be a counselor." So
I mean,
yes,
pretty much,
it
right?
comes with the territory. I mean, obviously, what we do, there's a lot of emotions, right? There's a lot of emotions, and decisions are made other than logic, right? Sometimes it's just the logic play seems so simplistic from the third party perspective, right? We're sitting here, we're we're engaged, but we're not living vicariously through this person, right? This
Right.
customer is making a decision for their life, their family, their future. And so we look at it and say, hey, why don't you just do this? But then we don't understand sometimes some of the other emotions that get into making these decisions. And I kind of broke down like, and I don't know if you think I'm spot on or if there was other emotions you think that I'm missing, but those are kind of the basic emotions. So, the first one I kind of did was what was it? I wrote it down. It was
Uh, Fear.
yes.
Yeah.
Fear is the number one emotion that most people are motivated to move on, right? Oh my God. Um, my landlord is kicking me out and I gotta get out. I mean, fear will drive you more than anything.
Oh, absolutely. And fear is a like a master of camouflage, actually, right? So rarely does it show up in, trembling or cowardice, but it normally shows up as a rational, well-dressed consultant, right? And it uses this language that is mature and prudent to keep us in our comfort zones, and to keep us from some self-accountability, right? So if we think about, all right, let's think about high achievers. So, the most common disguise for high achievers is doing our due diligence. We convince ourselves that we're not avoiding a decision or action, we're simply doing our homework. That's BS most of the time, right? And then there's, the protecting my peace crowd. Okay, so many people avoid a lot of growth oriented risk or necessary conflicts because they value the emotional stability and protecting their peace, which is very important to a point. But if it stops you from growing, how peaceful can it be? At that point, it's just ignorance, right? It's
Yeah,
willful ignorance. And then there's, in our industry, the waiting trap, right? So in
sure.
real estate or finance, fear is often dressed up as timing the market, right? So if we look at different litmus tests, right? Just like you said, what is the cost of not acting? So real responsibility weighs the risk of action against inaction, whereas fear only looks at the risk of the action, right?
Correct.
So the waiting, right? Let's say you're waiting for more data, you're waiting for the certainty. Real responsibility understands that 70% of data is more than enough to move, whereas fear is like, oh, we need 100% certainty. Well, that never exists. It's not realistic. And then there's I use the word responsible a lot, and sometimes, oddly enough, I use it irresponsibly. Um, but does the responsible choice make us feel relieved or expanded? So if we're looking at real responsibility, it often feels heavy and it's slightly uncomfortable, but that's because it involves growth, right? Growth can be uncomfortable, just like physical growing pains, right? But fear disguises responsibility more like a sudden release of tension, right? Because you gave yourself permission to stop trying.
What do you believe that fear costs people?
Oh, what doesn't it cost us? So, all right, I myself have grown up very cautiously optimistic. I like to believe that I take calculated risk. I can tell you up until December 2019, no, 18, I let fear be in the passenger seat, right? Like not just like a regular passenger seat, but like a driver's training car where it had too much control over the car, right? Old school driver's training car, probably like, when you grew up with two wheels and a brake. Um, it keeps us from a lot. Like I think I would be in a very different place in my life if I didn't let fear control so much of it the first part of my life, right? So now I've kind of let that go to an extent. And one of the things that I am proud of within the last 7 years is I think I've become a lot braver.
Is
And
it due to your family? Where does fear derive from? Is it just innate? You were born this way? Is it your environment? What made you so fearful?
I think I was raised to be cautious, right? And I think I went a little too far with it. Um, but also just like watching people continuously fail around you, right? And it took me a long time, well into my 30s, to realize that the way I see a lot of people fail and the way I fail are very differently because we are taking very different paths to get there. Um, I put a lot of thought into it. A lot of time, if I look back at failures that scared me, a lot of thought didn't go into it. So it's just a very different thing.
I Uh, it's funny. I was thinking of my mother-in-law, and her depiction of an arcade,
Okay.
and it was kind of interesting to me because she was fearful of all the germs in an arcade.
I
All the
mean,
hands that touch all the joysticks and the buttons, and you're playing all the games, and like that was her first inclination when she thinks of arcade are germs. And in my head, I'm so polar opposite, right? I'm just here to play the games.
yeah.
X-Men versus Comic Con or whatever games there were back there. Here I am. I'm just ready to play. And it's like the fear of her wanting to not engage into an arcade, not, what are the opportunities that she might have missed out versus, I was there. I was in every arcade. I was, I mean, it's opportunities that you miss through fear.
So I think I fall now, right? The just for it I am now. I think I fall somewhere in the middle of you and your mother-in-law. So like if you were to talk to my friends, coworkers, you may even think this about me. People always tell me I'm too rigid, right? You need to relax just for blah 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 blah. I'm not Vin Diesel, okay? I'm not Dominic Toretto. I can't live my life a quarter mile at a time. It just does not work that way. So my key to success is working backwards, right? So if yes, I want to go play, right? I love arcades personally, but like your mom, I'm like, ew, the germ. Your mother-in-law, I'm ew, the germs, right? So my thought is, okay, what's my worst case scenario? I get sick, I touch something gross. Well, how do I essentially defeat the monster before it pops up? I walk around with wipes and hand sanitizer and I'm okay with it. And I have enough
Mm.
to share.
Yeah, no, it's just those things that I'm always curious about. As we're talking about the human brain today, and just decisions that are made based on these emotions. It is interesting, to say
Yeah.
the least. So that what stops others and others continue to move forward, and sometimes for better or worse, right? Some of the,
Right.
oh, no fear, and I'm going to drive super fast, and then you're in a car accident and you die. It's like, hey, maybe you should have been a little bit more cautious and careful. So there is a thin line between making these kind of rash decisions to some degree, right?
Between
You
fear and recklessness.
Yes, because you said Vin Diesel, so that made me think of Fast and Furious, and I thought of
Exact Dominic Toretto, right?
and
I'm
then
gonna
the
live
guy
my
that
life a
died.
quarter mile at a time. I
Yeah,
can't do
but
that.
but the guy that died from the Fast Furious,
Paul, I
Paul
know.
Paul
R.I.P.
Walker.
Paul Walker. Mm.
So then you got me thinking, so you got my head going like, oh man, Paul Walker, not, was he reckless? Was he a little like, hey, I'm on top of the
Right, because we
world?
never really found out, right?
No.
Like there were rumors of like the car malfunction. Okay.
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 Yeah, just driving a little
Um,
too fast.
right. Just, be a cautionary tale, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it is interesting, and I fear that there's so much anxiety now in the world. What was that movie? Inside Out 2. That was such a great movie, right?
I just watched it the other night.
Oh my goodness. And
Yeah.
anxiety was in the building, first
Yo,
time. That was
anxiety
crazy.
cracked me up
It was
because
so
I'm like,
good.
I understand you.
Yes.
I think it's nice that we have the words for it now, right? And
Sure.
we can acknowledge it. Sometimes I think we overdo it a little bit. Um, but it's really cool when someone can acknowledge like, hey, this makes me anxious. I know that helped me. I thought I was just afraid of something and I was like, oh no, this just brings me anxiety. I can work with anxiety because I can work backwards from there.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, basketball games brought anxiety. I remember, right before tip off, I had anxiety. But it was like a like a bottle of like a bottle of Sprite that you just shake up, and then I was just ready to explode. I was, man, those first 5 minutes, I'm ready to go. Like I'm on 10, because I had all this anxiety, all this like, all right, it's game time. You have to step up, and so in life, sometimes it's Groundhog Day. So you have to kind of find that excitement every day. And
Hmm.
I use music as a way to kind of get me going. But, just making decisions, financial decisions, most importantly. I mean, that's obviously our realm. It is interesting on when you're, and let me ask you, because I'm curious on what you will say to this. If you're
Okay.
making a money decision,
Mhm.
what emotion is it? Is it fear, avoidance, pride? What emotion is going to steer your decision? I mean, does it depend on, but if it's a money decision, what are you thinking?
If it's a money decision, I'm thinking about future Just Forward. I can't mess
Mm,
up her life, you know? Um, a few years ago, I sold my house, right? And my house was, and everyone I know was kind of furious with me about it. It was just a special place for all of us, my friends, my family. Um,
the hangout
and it
spot.
was, yeah, and it was, I love my big, beautiful house in Detroit, right? It was my safe place. It just, I literally think about it every other day. I miss my house so much. But I really had to put some logic to it, right? I had to take away the emotion and say, okay, I can keep this house and all its feelings and spend way more money on it, bringing it up to date than it will ever be worth, or I can sell it and make a better investment.
Mm,
And that's what I ended up doing. Ultimately, I had to stop looking at it as a person, right? And I
sure.
needed to look at it through my professional lenses.
There's a book, I did a monologue last week on design your life. And sometimes, having your life as a picture and that you're trying to design it, sometimes it needs to be restructured.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's okay to take a step back and hey, let me sell this house. Let me cleanse myself of maybe debt, consumer debt that you have, and give yourself a little bit of relief, and then reestablish yourself with a different design. So not, and that's what's tough about just life in general, because not one size fits all.
Right.
And so, a lot of times, even people listening to us today, I'm a little bit more abstract. I'm a little bit more not like, I don't want to like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is how it's supposed to be. No, because life doesn't work like that. It
Right.
really is art. And what you like and I like might be two different things. And, but, in the same token, we probably have a lot more in common than we do apart. And that's just the reality. Like, there's a lot of more commonalities to human beings because we want same stuff out of life to
Right.
some degree:
Agreed.
safety,
Right.
security, money,
Happiness,
happiness,
protect the peace,
man, love,
love, right?
man. Want to make sure, they always talk about people that live longer, normally have a partner as they get older in life. Someone that, even if it's not the magic happening necessarily, but it's just someone that you can say hello to every day, have a
Yeah.
conversation, watch a TV show with, the whole Netflix and chill. Maybe that's a thing.
That was a, yeah, that's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Especially is a thing when you got to pay $60 to go to the movies. Now, don't get me started
Yo,
on that now.
listen, no, luckily one of my very best friends is uh a tech genius. We don't pay for those things.
Oh
Can't
my!
do it anymore. Oh, thank
But
you.
nothing's like movie popcorn, though.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Everybody says that and like, yeah, okay, I get it. Um,
Do you
but
though?
I do it makes my tummy hurt. Like I can't
You put
first
the
of all, I
butter
get it
on
with
it.
I know I get it with no butter.
No butter
No
and
butter,
makes
no
it.
salt. Oh, that movie butter, it doesn't make
It's,
your tongue feel funny?
oh, it's nasty.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah,
nasty.
no, it's
Yeah.
not worth it for me.
No, I went to one theater in particular, and because I used to be the butter guy. I
Okay.
never did the salt thing. I've never really been a huge salt guy. Salt gets to me, of course, but I've never been a salt guy. But I used to put the butter on, and then one time I got really sick because it was nasty. It's almost like I was like, what is this? Not butter. This is fake.
Yeah, it's yucky.
Yes. But no, plain popcorn with milk duds, man, kid
Okay.
at a
Yeah,
candy store.
the milk duds for sure. Again, right? So I mitigate my risk. I always have floss picks in my bag. I got floss picks
Oh,
everywhere. My bag, my car, wherever.
okay.
You know?
Yeah,
Gotta
yeah, you
you
got to protect the teeth.
Right? You gotta mitigate the risk.
But what's funny about movies, just quickly, is that because of the cost expense, because of the inflation that never will ever come down again, it better be a great movie. Like, I'm not going to the movies to see a drama. I'm not going to go to the movies to see a rom com. I'm going to go see a movie. It's action. I might check out the Avengers, where I need the 3D, I need the surround sound. It's all around me. I'll go see
I
Star Wars.
completely understand that. Like if it did, I'm the same way. Like if I need the visuals, right? If I want to be in the theater for the visuals, yes. Um,
Facts.
but yeah, no, you're right. No, I'm not going to. I love rom coms. I'm not going to see a rom com in theater. It
No,
doesn't even feel cozy, you know?
no.
Yeah, but yeah, there will never like I'm pretty sure there were never say never, but there will never come a time I'm not going to see a Marvel movie in theaters.
Facts.
You know? Every
50, yeah,
yeah.
50 Shades of Grey can be on my couch.
Right, like, yeah, that yeah. I completely agree with you.
All right. So the second emotion, so we talked about fear and just what fear makes decisions. The second emotion was pride.
This one took me a minute to write notes on because I kept quoting Cool Runnings in my head.
Oh my gosh. Cool runnings.
Yeah, I see pride. I see power. And I giggled to myself for like 3 minutes. Okay. Pride, right? So the question is why do people avoid asking for help with money
Correct.
even when it's clearly hurting them?
Correct.
So, all right, this is the way I think about it. The refusal to seek financial or any other kind of help is rarely based in stubbornness or laziness. It's normally a sophisticated survival mechanism, and it our brain uses it to protect our identity. So, right now in the world we live in, right, we are currently facing what has been coined as money dysmorphia, right? Um, and the social media age brought this about. And the psychological barriers to asking for help have become even more reinforced, right? So if we look at I think there are three different points to this. So if we look at the competency trap, right? The
Hmm.
identity as achievement. For a lot of us, financial success isn't just a number, it's identity, right? So the logic the intelligent brain is having says, well, if I'm a smart, capable person, I should be able to figure out my own money. Where you sabotage yourself is when you equate the self worth to your net worth, and then admitting to financial struggle feels like a character assassination, for lack of better words. And to ask for help is to admit that our competency is not what we have projected to the world. So the result of that, right? We continue to like white knuckle it through a crisis to protect the ego, even as everything is closing in around us.
I like to say this: pride delays solutions until they cost you more money.
That's facts.
So I agree with you 100%. And speaking to a guy last night, a potential client right now, working with him, and we all are what they call the matriarch, right? The patriarch, right, of the family. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we get in these circles where people really think highly of Jess Ford. They really think highly of Dante Royster. And so if Jess is down or Dante's down, there's no way, because they got everything buttoned up. They got everything solid and tight. So if
Right?
you are that matriarch, if you are that patriarch, sometimes that pride of like, I can't let people know that I'm down, I'm hurting, but it does cost you more money by you avoiding the solutions that are available to you, because you don't want to let everybody know that you're hurting, that it's not 100%. It's not as good as it seems. And we have to, really fight that, because our pride is very strong and powerful, and we try to stomach with the white knuckles that you reference. We'll
Mm-hmm.
stomach through it, but man, you're delaying, potentially the inevitable, and you're just costing yourself more money. It's scary.
100%. I completely agree with you. And I think there is a distinction in that between guilt and shame.
Mm,
It walks a fine line.
that's scary. And it's just, so, and I'm going to ask you at the end, these emotions, but it is a situation. People are making decisions other than the practical nature. They're making decisions based on these other emotions. So we talked about pride, we talked about fear. Now, this one, I thought about it, I had to think about it, but nostalgia.
You know what? I thought that was very creative. When I looked at it, I went, "Hmm, okay." And, and immediately though, immediately I was like, "Yeah, we can roll with this." Um, okay, do you want to ask the question?
Well, yeah, let me ask you the question. How often do you hear people stuck waiting for a past version of the market or their life?
Oh, Dante, let me tell you, all the time. I'm so sick of having this conversation. Friends, the 2% interest rates are not coming back. And if they do, we're already screwed and we're in the thick of a recession. Stop hoping for it. Unfortunately, my generation, as millennials, right? We got stuck, or more so, we were raised in an anomaly. And we just all think it's normal, right? And so the millennial generation, casually, oh, I'll wait till it goes back to threes. I'll wait till it goes back to twos. Read a book. It was an anomaly that lasted way too long because of this thing that should have broken down a decade before it actually did. So the nostalgia thing, like, let it go with the interest rates. Like, for instance, me, right? I'm never gonna be able to hoop the way I once did, but I'm also not about to go lay down and die. And I'm not gonna get in the gym with the goal of reliving my glory days. You just have to adjust.
Be careful what you're saying, okay? You are, you are towing that line a little bit too close today. Be
You
careful
want
what you're
hoop?
saying, okay? I
I'm
go
sure we can figure out how to make that a business meeting.
so you can go to the gym, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to the gym and you can try to relive that once golden memory that you have of yourself.
You can, and be mindful of which muscles you're gonna pull while you're doing it.
You can't be a weekend warrior. You're going to have to put the time in. You're going to have to work out to get to that moment. And hey, maybe one out of four times you can do it. Or maybe that moment you can pick little sections where you could be special.
Okay, so normally I don't poke at you, right? I let you roll. But what I'm hearing was I was a mediocre basketball player. I was not. Okay? I know I can't do at 38 what I did at 18. It's just
Okay. But you can develop new sets of skills with new
oh,
knowledge.
for sure, 100%, but it's not what I did before, right? It's
Facts. It'll
it's
never
not
be. You can't go
ex-
back.
that is the
Okay.
point, right? Adjust.
Okay. But you can go in the gym and you can relive a little bit. You can have a flashback. I had 2 game winners on Sunday. I
Oh
sent
yeah,
them
you
home
can,
and I said,
but you
hey, I still got it.
do you pivot the way you used to?
No, I'm not as
No,
fast as I
right?
used to be.
Exactly, you adjust it. Like,
My
I'm not going out
endurance.
there to
Sure.
try to play like 17, 18-year-old just for it. Absolutely not. No, no.
Just
But
forward would have been power forward. What?
just forward should have been in a power forward position, but I went to a really small school, so I rotated all five positions. Dude, sometimes I was the big man, even though
Jeez.
I was one of the smallest ones on the team. But I'm real strong. But yeah,
Okay.
I had to rotate all five positions, and sometimes at one time.
Man, a lot of losses in your past. It sounds like, I would imagine.
Wow.
Hey, you might have had some good games,
Wow.
but it does sound like a lot of L's for that team. I'm just
Wow. And you
saying.
know what? I'm not gonna lie. Yes,
Thank
actually.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Like
Don't play with
small
me.
school playing it. Let me tell you, the Catholic League is a lot more cutthroat than people like to think it is. Okay?
OMG, this is funny. Now you got me laughing.
Hey,
Now
I
you
made
got
the
me
paper
laughing.
every game though. That's all
I
that mattered.
bet. I bet. But it's funny now when you speak of sports, there's always this concept because maybe going to a smaller school where you could dominate, you know, pretty much play the whole game. You're going to lose by 20 or 30, but you could put up stats. Maybe that's a better position than being in a metropolitan area, dealing with high level caliber where you don't get the same opportunities because you can really hone your skills at a smaller school. And I used to always joke with my friends. I was like, man, when I have a kid, man, we're just going to move to North Dakota and I'm just going to put them out there and just bang all those, just kill them, you know,
Big
and then,
small
yeah,
pond.
yeah. And then just go to Chicago in the summers so he can hone his skills. He may not be the best over here, but when he goes over there, because the mindset shift and you start experimenting of all the things that you can do and how successful you can be, it is an interesting concept just in the realm of being that, to your point, big fish in a small pond.
Agreed.
So maybe that was you, Just Ford. Big fish, small pond.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it was.
I'm not mad
See,
at you.
we always arrive at the same place, but never can we take the same route to get there.
I don't even know how he got there, but nostalgia is funny, is because I'm thinking now I do not know what you wear on your feet, but I just always have thought of you as like an old sneakerhead. So I'm thinking like you got some Air Max or something like that. Like I always thought you were like old school Converse.
I do have Converse in many different colors. You couldn't see them because the carpet was red, but in my TED talk, I had on red Converse.
Mm.
Yeah, the carpet kind of camouflaged, and when I saw that, I was like, well, who knew that was gonna happen? But I am not okay. So I am not a sneakerhead. Um, because like one, I've never owned a pair of Jordans. I never will.
Shame on
I
you.
don't even get me started on the cultural and economic disaster that that is. But I don't know. Like I have this, and I bet this was my mom. This was Ronnie Ford. I'm not paying a ton of money to walk around on other people's bodily fluids. I'm not doing it because that's what's in the street. The street is disgusting. I'm not spending
Oh my
$300 on that.
God.
Not
You
doing it.
think like this?
Absolutely, I
Is
do.
this
When it
oh
comes to my money,
OMG.
absolutely. You know, people ask me just for it. Why do you drive a 2018 Escape? You could be driving this. Well, there's a reason I'm where I am and you are where you are.
Mm.
There
You drop. You got
choices,
receipts. Wow.
right? Literally.
Wow.
Um.
You don't care about your feet though, huh? You don't take care of your feet.
Oh
That's what you're
no, I
saying.
absolutely do. But
Hammer toe feet. Just
listen, I protect my. I don't even wear open toe shoes. They're wildly dangerous.
I'm just saying, good shoes.
Yeah, good shoes, but like I don't really care if about like the brand,
Oh,
right?
of course,
You know?
yeah. No, I mean, nostalgic sake, it's just taking it back in the day of what things used to be, where you buy throwbacks, right? Throwback jerseys, if we're
Hmm.
speaking of sports, the starter pullovers are starting to make that's like a huge like comeback now.
You remember Stephen
Um,
Barry's? Did y'all have those
Steve,
there?
the shoes?
No, no, it's a store.
No, I don't.
Oh, the Stephen Barry's was okay. So before, right, the jackets, the the jerseys, all of that, right? That they were expensive. Those things weren't cheap. And then
Mhm.
Stephen Barry's came along and they were $12 because we know who
Oh,
made those. We know who stitched them together.
is that the
But
Marberries and stuff like that? Like the $5 Marberries? Didn't they have the Stephen Berries?
what is Marbury?
Yeah, Marbury came out with the $5 shoe or something like that. This is
Oh, I would not wear a $5 shoe.
I wore the $5 shoes because I was like you,
Mm-mm.
just for it. I'm like, hey, I'm not playing, so if I'm just gonna be playing, I'll just get these $5 shoes. But they don't last long, just let you know.
I bet they don't.
Man.
Mm-mm. No, thank you. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I think nostalgia is interesting. The past feels safe. There's always our path, or I should say our past seems like highlight reels.
And isn't it crazy that the past feels safe because I think it only feels safe because we know that we made it out of it.
You you
It
you know
was
the in
not safe at all.
at the time, but yeah,
Right.
now you can look
But
back and be like, I made it through it.
exactly. Like,
Eh,
even right now with what's going on in our country, a lot of us feel like, where is this gonna go? Are we gonna make it through this? And quite possibly, we could be 6, 10 years into the future and go, "Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't that bad."
correct.
It is that
Yeah,
bad, though.
it's a little bit of closure, right? We get a sense of closure because we're living in the present. It's the past. I have a control of my past now, right? I can have a memories of just the highlight reels. I can take out all the bad, the negative. So what I'm going to remember are all the good times, the things that made me smile, the things when I had the most money. And so, trying to get back there, it's kind of like they talk about for a lack of a better thing, they talk about getting high, right? You always try to get your first high.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
Right,
always try to get back.
right,
Yes.
that first feeling.
Yeah, that first feeling, and there's a little level of nostalgia decisions that are made because you're trying to get it back, and sometimes you have to readjust. And in real estate in particular, every year presents itself as a different challenge. It's a different year
Every
every
year.
year. For real estate investors out there, just because you were fixing and flipping last year doesn't mean you're going to have success this year. I saw a client of mine, working with him, where man, he was banging out fixing flips like it was nobody's business, and probably closed 11 flips. And now he's starting to think monstrosity. I'm going to be this big empire. And now, it's been, 3 years and he hasn't been able to even get one off the ground, and it has stumbled and tripped over multiple times. So, it's that thing that you have to be willing to adjust and play the game as it's set forth each and every year. You can't really look back and be like, man, and we all are victims of this, even myself included. I mean, I go back to the good old days, or I go back to when I was, oh man, this was great. And I'm trying
Mhm.
to relive that. I'm trying to live that in the moment. I'm trying to take it but one of the things that I always encourage, because I always talk about this story back in 2005, right? So over 20
Oh,
years ago.
that was the year I graduated high school.
Oh my gosh, baby. I'm a branch manager at a town and country credit corporation, and I'm a branch manager in the mortgage business. And we are the number one branch in the state of Illinois for our company, right? And I'm the youngest manager in the company, and I'm feeling myself to know, to the highest of degrees that I've
Yeah.
figured this all out. And the thing was, I was so confident and so like, man, this is great. I didn't really write things down. I didn't track anything. I was not a non-tracker of
I mean,
success.
that's not.
I'm 25.
Yeah, most right. And
I'm
like, I mean, your, you know, frontal lobe wasn't even fully developed yet.
100%. I'm alpha male. Let's go. We got this. Let's do
Yeah.
it. And so, we have 2 great months back to back, and then the next month comes and we struggle a little bit. And then my boss at the time is starting to ask me questions. Well, what's
Mhm.
going on? What's wrong? Are you on pace? Why are you not on pace? And where do you have to hit? What do you have to do? And I'm like, um, I don't know. So if you are going to make nostalgic decisions, you have to have at least a frame of reference of what it looked like, right? How can you
Right.
go to success if you don't have the map?
Agreed.
You can't get back there again.
Well, that's like, one of the biggest rules in finance, and it's a law, right? It's a federal law, is that you can't give someone a prospectus, right? Or a history of a stock or index or whatever the investment is, and say, yeah, based off its past performance, it's going to be successful or there's no risk. There's literally a law against doing that because
Right.
it's just not true.
No, it isn't. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, I've come up with three. That was kind of my three. Nostalgia, pride, and fear are three emotions. I didn't see them in Inside Out, but those are. Did I see fear? Was fear there?
Yeah, fear was there.
Was fear part of Inside Out? Okay, so
Yeah.
fear was there, but pride wasn't, and nostalgia wasn't. But I think those are emotions that need to be added on Inside Out Part 3.
Um,
So.
I wouldn't hate it, right? Because those are more like complex emotions.
Yeah, a
Huh?
couple stats that I want to just say 90% of financial decisions are driven by emotion, not logic. That was based on a behavioral finance consensus. Also, over 60% of Americans regret at least one major financial decision, excuse me, most tied to waiting too long or acting emotionally. So I thought, some of these, food for thoughts. This is a bigger issue than people may realize. It's something that needs to be considered. That we have to try. And do you have any cures? I know a lot of people look for solutions. Are there any solutions that just off the top of your head
Um,
for
yeah,
those? I mean, what can
yeah.
what can I do to not be so fearful, not be so prideful, not be so nostalgic?
Um, so okay, there is you kind of have to create a system within your brain, right? Because there is an anatomy to sabotage, right? Um, and very rarely is it about what's going on in our prefrontal cortex. It's really the limbic system, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. The point is, you create a roadmap. So, since you can't always, we subconsciously trap ourselves, right? Sometimes fear is subconscious. And since we can't always think our way out of it, the best strategy is to remove the decision entirely. So, here are three solutions that work for me. One, automation, right? We're going to set up automation as a guardrail, meaning if you automate your savings and investments, you don't have to decide to be disciplined every month. So you're taking the teenage driver out of the Ferrari, right? Um, and then there's what I really like is the 24-hour rule, right? The cooling off period. So for any non-essential, right, purchase, and you really gotta non-essential needs versus wants, friends. For any non-essential purchases over a certain dollar amount, right? Give your based on your budget, give yourself a dollar amount. Force yourself to wait 24 hours. That'll allow your limbic system to spike and settle so that your prefrontal cortex can like regain control, right? So the big kid brain is thinking logically. And then like we talk about all the time, external accountability, right? So even the smartest CEOs have their board of directors, and we talk about that a lot. You brought it up earlier, having a spouse, partner, financial advisor, right? Have somebody you trust that has veto power that prevents you from hyper rationalizing bad decisions. Like don't work in a silo, right? Don't don't try to work in a silo by yourself. Work with a team. Dante and I talk about board of directors every week. Have a board of directors. The bottom line is really that you don't have to be smarter to not sabotage yourself, but you need to be humble enough to understand how easily your brain can trick you.
Jess, how do one get a hold of you?
Ooh, well, that's an easy one. As always, you guys can find me on Instagram at jford_consulting, but I am going to put my link to all things Just Forward in the chat right now. You can email me, you can call me, you can DM me if you just have questions. If you want to do a loan, you need advice, let me know.
She is a wealth of knowledge. She actually did a TED talk, ladies and gentlemen. So this lady has just a wide range of abilities. Definitely enjoyed that TED talk. I
I'm
saw
so
it.
glad you finally watched it. Thank you for that.
Always, always, always. Hey, and just as a reminder, this episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, you can definitely call us 708-905-5300, 708-905-5300. Now, after the show is over, a couple news announcements, a little bit different this time. After the show is over, we definitely want you to check out the most recent podcast. We had the most recent podcast that was with which one was it? Oh my God, it's just starting to get too many. Hold on. Hold on. Where is he? I think it's
You're like Ryan
Aaron.
Seacrest.
Hold
You do so
on.
many shows.
He's gonna be so mad at me. I don't know. Aaron. Aaron McNair. There you go. Aaron McNair is a business coach, and he's a life coach, I should say. Aaron McNair is a life coach. He helps you master your mindset and awaken to true purpose. And in this episode that I had, it was a transformational speaker and mindset coach, really revealing the secrets behind his unshakable positivity, morning routine for high energy, and proven strategies for overcoming adversity. It was so funny because once you get to know me and once the audience gets to know me, I'm a little bit of a cynic, right? I'm like, yeah, what's the catch? And Aaron has high positive energy, and I'm like, dude, there's no way. No, I was throwing out curveballs just to see if I could get a reaction. He was just a positive person, just a great person to speak to, and I felt better just like talking to him. Like, oh, I'm going to have a good day because I talked to Aaron McNair. So when you get a chance, make sure you check out the Aaron McNair podcast. Now, the second thing I wanted to bring up to everyone that knows, this is a little special day today. I am doing a double header. I'm doing a double header tonight, 5:45 Central Time, CST, 6:45 Eastern Time. I'll be back on these internet waves with L'Oreal Flowers as we're going to be talking about the spring buying season. It was just based on her scheduling that she wanted to have this, intimate session. So we're going to bang out about an hour tonight. So it is one of the rare unicorn events. So I call it a special. You get to have me twice today. But Ryan Seacrest does not look like me, Jess. But you know, I'm
You
trying to.
got
I'm
as
trying.
many jobs as he does.
We're trying. We're trying here. I did put in the chat just so people know, DanteRoyster.com. We do have some updated new listings that really just are like hot off the presses. We got a couple condos, a couple non-mortgageable condos. It was great to see some homes get picked up from our website. So that was super cool. One of the listings just actually 7801 South Ada is under contract, and I
Is
know the
it?
lender. I know the lender.
Huzzah!
It does work. Crazy.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely there are some great opportunities on there if you want to buy a condo, if you want to buy a single family home. We do need to get some more in Michigan. We're working on that, Miss Ford. We are working diligently on that. We will get that squared away with some properties up in Michigan, but we do have some Illinois, Maryland, Florida, and Texas properties. So definitely worth a check out. And we do have some questions, so let's try to bang through these. Appreciate everyone spending some time with us. Fear blinds people to opportunity. Yes. Yes, Ken Ford, you are correct. I agree. You know him, I bet,
Yeah, don't
because
don't blow his head up.
you know he right. He
He
man.
is right.
Yes. Speak that knowledge. How can we control fear when making big money decisions? I think you just said that, right? Didn't you share that?
Yeah, I feel like I said a lot of stuff though. Um, okay, so I feel like 125. I feel like I maybe answered that one, but to circle back to it, I don't want to give the exact same answer. So what I will say is,
I like the 24 hour. I do like that.
oh
I
yeah,
agree with
the
that.
the wait, the 24 hours.
I
Yeah,
think that's so
absolutely.
important.
Um, I feel the same about tattoos, but give that 6 months. Also, um, think about uh, success versus how do I say this? S- Sponsoring success versus actual net worth, right? So, are you going to get the bang for your buck? Work backwards. What I like to do with pretty much any decision in life, Danny, is to go all the way to the end and think about what is the monster? What are all the things that can go wrong? And if I can figure that out, I can kind of control my pitfalls and work backwards. That way I know what to do going forward. It doesn't mean the plan's going to be perfect and you're not going to have to make some adjustments. Um, but think it through, figure out the worst case scenario, right? And decide if your risk tolerance can handle it. And if you're still not sure, go to your board of directors. Get somebody who knows the financial world a little better than you do. You have
I'm
words.
hearing reverse engineer,
Reverse
start
engineer.
at the
You're gonna work
start at
backwards.
the end and go forward. And then I'm hearing, are you a pro con list lady?
Oh,
Is it
come on. Do you even really have to ask that question?
so all day, every day?
All day.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. What's the first step to separating emotions from finances?
Ooh. First step.
I
That's a
don't think
tough
you
one. What are
ever
your thoughts?
can. I don't think you
Right.
ever
That's what I
can
was.
separate.
Yeah.
It's just you have to know that they're there and they're with you. And I think knowing it, just being conscious of, yes, there might is this. Am I making this decision on fear? Am I making this decision on a pride level? You really just talking it through. I really love what you said. I am a 24-hour guy. If someone presses me, then hey, guess what? It's not for me. Like I should be able to walk away from a decision, think about it for a full day, and a lot of times in that hour or within that 24 hours, I am talking to my board of directors. Call my mom. Talk to my buddy. Call
Hmm.
Jess Ford and be like, hey, I got this thing and I was doing this, and what do you think about that? Having that opportunity to have that conversation and really kind of calm your mind, I think that will relieve you from, anything that just instinctively will be like, oh yeah, let's do it, because of these actions. So I think emotions will always be with you. You can't really separate. It's just being aware that they're there, and sometimes are these the best decisions you possibly can make.
Agreed. And like I said, I like to think about future me, right? So if you care about future you, think about the impact it's going to have on her.
Mm. Why do smart people still struggle with money emotionally? I mean, it's kind of everything that we talked about today. Really, it's just that some of it is pride, some of it is fear, some of it is, trying to get back nostalgic ideas and concepts. I mean, you have more to that one?
Um, I agree with all of that. I think there's also the complexity bias, right? So intelligent people often believe that a problem is important, right? Like wealth building. And so it must require some complex solution. And so we suffer from complexity bias, which is the tendency to ignore simple, boring systems in favor of elaborate ones. So, for example, um, a smart investor, right, might ignore smart, not wise. There's a distinction. A smart investor might ignore a simple like an index fund, right? Um, let's say S&P 500 index fund, right? Or standard 30-year mortgage that you turn into an investment property because it feels too easy. So instead, we chase this exotic like crypto derivatives or some revolutionary tax straddle scheme that eventually is going to blow up in our faces anyway. And so by making the process overly complex, we create more fail points so that when the complex system does fail, we can blame the system rather than blaming our own choices, which is we could have just took the simple path.
I love that. I saw a post that talked about like an ETF that you reference, Spider for S&P 500. If you just put, if you have disposable income and you put $2,000 away every month for 10 years, that would amass $500,000. Now, give that to your 18-year-old self. At 28 years old, you have a half a million dollars. By the time you're 38 years old, you're well over being a millionaire. And, to some degree, we've put this, kind of like, oh, to be, to have this seven-figure, net worth. And and so many people have gotten there, but so many people haven't.
Hmm.
And it's really simplistic, but given the choices, it's boring.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's
It's boring. We
in
gotta shake things up.
I always say I thought it was 2003, but it wasn't. It was probably somewhere in the vicinity of 2012ish. So this is about going on 14 years ago. I sat down with a beautiful couple, husband and wife. I just helped them buy a house, and I had my life insurance, I had my security 6 and 63, and I wanted to do some financial planning with them. And so, wife was a teacher, husband was an engineer, but yearning to be an entrepreneur at the time. And I sit down on their couch, and I'm explaining just a Roth IRA, just a basic concept of a Roth IRA. Put in DCA, right? Dollar cost averaging. Put the money away and just let it grow over time, and just showing them the power of this and where it could potentially grow 20, 30, 40 years from there. And I'll never forget the husband looking at me dead in my eye, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, I know about that, but you got anything exciting?" And I was just like, "What? This ain't an amusement park. Like, what? What are you talking about? Exciting? Man, yeah, I know about that, but you got anything exciting? Something we can really, exciting."
People watch too many
And
movies.
man, have mercy. That blew my mind. But it just, sometimes, you know, eh, eh, Jess, I'll tell you, I've been very fortunate enough to be in a bubble for so long. So when I come out of my bubble and I'm like, look at these real people, and I get excited, but then they say stuff like that, I'm just like, I want to go back in my bubble because I'm like, what are
Right.
you talking
Like,
about?
that's why I stay
What?
inside.
Man, I'm such a people watcher because I'm like, oh man, I'm outside, I'm out of my bubble. Wow, look at these people. And then I engage and I'm like, oh my God, what? And I didn't know how to respond to him. I say, no, man, but this could be exciting in 40 years. Everything
Right.
takes time, but people are impatient. They want things, I want to make I had a guy today tell me this morning, man, we're gonna make $1 million. I said, when are we gonna do that? June. June, bro.
Of
June.
of this year?
I said, maybe in 2035, I'm with you. No, no, no. This year, man, we're gonna do it. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm a
Hey,
positive thinker,
it could
but my
happen.
goodness. My goodness. Anyway. People make me laugh. Love people. What's one habit to reduce money related anxiety? That's a good question.
Um, that is a good question. Money relating. Um, don't carry the burden alone. Once again, we go back to working in a silo, right? So, um, my friends are just as nerdy as me. And we like to work as a hive mind sometimes, right? So if there's something I can't figure out or I have anxiety around something, I'm usually pretty good at looking at things from a ton of different angles. But I'm one person, right? So I send out a text, guys, I need to hive mind. Here's the problem. And then I get a ton of different perspectives from people that I trust and respect. These are not random Joe Schmoes. These are people who've proven themselves in your life. So don't carry the burden alone. Um, Another way to do it is get with like a financial advisor, right? And go over the safer bets, right? Nothing is foolproof, but there are three categories of risk essentially in finance. And one of them is fairly safe unless our government collapses
Don't
entirely.
start.
Well, I mean that, but like for instance, like treasuries, right?
Mhm.
Unless our government just collapses, right? We're good. Treasuries are relatively safe. Um, so look at once again, figure out your risk tolerance, right? What you can tolerate financially and emotionally, and stack the deck, right? So if you need to feel safer, put more of it in the safe bet, but then play a little over here, but not with enough that could ruin your life.
There's a professor up, he used to be a professor in Buffalo University or something like that, Canadian, Moshe Malevsky. Moshe Malevsky. He's worth a read. And I have his book at home, and it says, "Are you a stock or are you a bond?" And he
Ooh,
wanted you as the human being to look at yourself and determine, are you Are you a risk adverse or are you risky? And then obviously, with your partner, look at them and then reassess. Like if you just Ford is a mortgage loan officer and straight commission, then it wouldn't be prudent necessarily to have someone else straight commission because now we're both stocks
Right
and it's
now we
just
both in it.
high. Yeah, we're both in it.
Yeah.
That you have to have that balance within your relationships, within your life. Not necessarily work-life balance, but a balance, just knowing who you are and what's going to make the most sense. So,
But if you're
most.
both bonds, then there are
Mm,
limits, right? There are limits. I'm more like a mutual fund,
oh, I love it. I
you
love
know?
it. Well, but I think that's important, and I think that's who sometimes, so many times they're like, "Well, who are you trying to speak to? Who is your audience?" And I hope my audience is mainly bonds, and I am trying to get them to be a stock. I work with a lot of people that are, stock people. And like I said, we had the real estate investor last year make $175,000. That's phenomenal.
Mhm.
But I do want to encourage people that are bonds, people that are a little bit more passive, and they're watching life pass them by. And they think they're okay, right? They're making 100,000, 120,000, 150,000, and they think they're okay, but are they really? And so that's the person I know I'm trying to speak to say, hey, let's reevaluate. You don't have to be in a bad position to be put in a better one. And I think that's just so important.
That I believe that really speaks to the money related anxiety.
Correct.
Yep, diversification.
Diversification. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. We got a couple more and we'll get it wrapped up. Does nostalgia affect how we hold on to bad financial choices?
Oh
No, that's
yeah,
called
absolutely.
heredity.
Absolutely it does. Like for instance, right, going back to the waiting, we have so many people, oh, I'm going to wait for rates. Stop. Remember, you date the rate, right? Waiting. So for instance, the last 2 weeks, rates were great. We were in the fives. We were just handing out money. This week, we back up to 6.875. So if you could have refinanced into, let's say, a 5.875 or a 5.99 2 weeks ago, you're looking at high sixes, low sevens this week. Like the
Yeah.
waiting,
Yeah.
right? The waiting is and you're holding on to what was. And that's what we have to stop doing.
The Fed announcements today. Today is the 28th. The Fed announcements, actually, they're speaking right now, and more than likely, they're going to stay status quo. And so,
Yeah.
knowing that it's going to stay status quo, we're seeing the decline in rates because it's like nothing sexy, nothing popping over here, and
Hmm.
so you see the market's already trending in that direction. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that there's no movement from the Fed. We'll probably have it in the next 15 minutes. What role does mindset play in building real wealth?
Oh,
Everything.
it's the stage.
It
Yeah.
starts with the mindset, right? I mean, at the end of
Right.
the day, you have to have the mindset. And then I just think, as you're going down the road, you have to constantly evaluate where you are. There's,
Agreed. What is
there's,
real wealth?
ooh, now we don't have time for that. See, why are you going to start? You're going to start in the
I
hour.
didn't Branson asked the question.
Man, that's a show in itself. What is real
What
wealth?
is real wealth, right? So like that's an individual
100% subjective.
thing. Yeah.
Your
But
wealth is different than mine.
yeah, mindset is it's everything because you're either you're going to be overly optimistic, overly cautious, or somewhere right in the middle,
Sure.
you know? Um and it just kind of depends on what your goals are and again, risk tolerance. We got to figure out a way to like really measure that. There is a way to measure it, but I would love to figure out a way to give something to the show, right? To say, hey, here's how you measure your risk. I'm gonna think about that.
If you
You
could
three.
create the slideshow and then we could put it on and you could talk about it. And I know you probably have it with the financials things that you're doing right now with the tests and stuff like that, because normally you guys will, as a financial fiduciary responsibility, you're going to ask the questionnaire to break down, my risk tolerance and stuff like that, because that's important.
I got to do it before I can even sell you a product.
100%. What's the biggest emotional mistake people make with money?
I say impulse. What do you say?
What's the biggest emotional mistake people make with money is that they buying something expensive. So impulse, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
But say more words because you
So
didn't mean to stop
I don't,
there.
I don't. Well, the question is kind of tough for me. I don't really understand it. What is the biggest
So,
emotional
okay.
mistake?
I I get you, girl. So impulse control. Also, like Dante said earlier, right? He was this big shot and he didn't write anything down. That's not helpful. What I find when I look through my friends' bank statements, which I often do, um, because I have to keep them on track, right? Because I care about them.
Thanks,
I
mom.
find that they nickel and dime themselves, right? So I know we always use the Starbucks reference, but um, one of my brothers, who I hope is not watching, um, he has a coffee obsession, and not Starbucks, Tim Hortons. But I added up his average daily coffee intake, and it's like 3 grand a year,
Mm,
just on a large double double. You know? So it's the impulse control, number one. So try to implement the 24-hour rule. And then two, be mindful of where you're spending your money. Like use one of those, use some kind of tracker. Um, like I haven't used Rocket Money, but people seem to like it, and there are a lot of other apps out there like it. But you'll be very surprised where you are just a thousand cuts, right? That you're not even thinking about, where you're poking holes and you're leaking money, but you don't even see it because it's just something you do all the time.
good stuff. We got three more. Are smart people more emotional with money than they think?
Oh, yeah, because ego,
Ego.
right?
They know it
Ego.
all.
Yeah, and we use the okay, so we have these hyper realizations, right? The smart excuses, which is totally a trap. So high intelligence allows you to build incredibly sturdy logic for emotional impulses. So essentially how it works is like an impulse, let's say you buy a $150,000 car. That's not frivolous to a smart person. It's strategic networking asset for client perception. Don't do
Blah,
that,
blah, blah. Right.
right? The result is that, yeah, you're capable of building a logical case for almost anything, right? We can talk ourselves into anything, but in the end, it wasn't a good idea when we put it to ones and zeros,
Right.
right? So smart people tend to outsmart themselves. So, like I said earlier, be humble enough to know when your brain is working against you.
Love it. All right. I think, what advice would you give someone always saying later?
How has that worked out for you so far?
Love it.
Right? And remember, we've talked about on shows before, m- money just gets more expensive, right? So the
Mhm.
longer you wait, the more expensive things are going to be, the less that your dollar is worth.
And then your guy. Remember, facts don't have feelings, and feelings don't have facts. I like that. Financial decisions made on emotions will always fade eventually. Financial decisions made on logic last generations.
Kim Ford, I'm proud of you.
Man, that's that's Yoda right there. Thank you, Yoda.
Don't do that. No,
Drop
don't do
those
that.
Yoda vibes, man. That was
Don't do
Yoda
that.
vibes right there.
It's not, no, don't do that.
One
I'm Yoda.
must learn how to walk before one must run. I
I'm
like
Yoda.
it.
Don't do that.
Okay. Okay. I'm with you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the knowledge. Hey, appreciate the time. And Jess, we did it again.
We did it. Are you a Muppet in your head
Again.
ever?
No.
Just,
If I was a Muppet, what Muppet would I be?
ooh. I don't know. I had
Come
to
on.
think that one through. I had to. I next week. I got you.
Well, should the question be if you were a Muppet, what Muppet would you be? And then I guess you guess me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I
I like
think I
it.
know yours.
Especially since you failed on the trivia questions. Like, where did that go?
Which one? Oh, I've been doing the riddles
Uh huh.
in the newsletter, and so I forgot to bring them back here. So
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a little
Read the
rusty.
newsletter. Okay, got it.
You got to read the newsletter on Friday, and you will know I do have riddles. But yeah, I will bring the riddles
Okay.
back next Wednesday. I will give you a riddle since you liked it. You liked it. I'm so nervous. Anyway, want you to have a great day. Have an epic day. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week to do it again.
Bye, peeps.
Holla.